They didn't even book a seat for me at my own father's birthday dinner. Mom looked me dead in the eye and said, "Honey, it's an expensive place. You can't afford even the valet." My own mother. And the worst part? Dad just smiled quietly. Like he agreed. If you've ever been underestimated by the people who were supposed to support you, this story is for you. Hit that subscribe, share it with someone who needs motivation, and stay till the end. Because you won't believe what Sasha does next. So there I stood, outside Trentino's, the most high-end restaurant in town, watching them walk past the marble entrance like royalty. My dad's birthday. My own flesh and blood. And they didn't even invite me in, because apparently, I wasn't presentable enough for their elite crowd. I wore clean jeans and a simple top, because I'd come straight from work. I'd been hustling for months, building something from scratch. Something no one in my family knew about. Not Mom. Not Dad. Not even my stuck-up cousin Rachel, who once told me I'd never be more than a glorified assistant, and now, as they entered, laughing with champagne in hand, I caught a glimpse of Rachel whispering to my mother, both of them glancing back at me. Probably mocking. Judging. The same way they always had, but what they didn't know, what no one knew, was that they'd just walked into my restaurant, because 2 years ago, while they mocked me for quitting my safe job, I spent every cent I had buying a failing Italian bistro no one believed in. I renamed it. Rebuilt it. Rebranded it, and tonight, they were dining on my tablecloths, under my chandeliers, served by my trained staff, and the bill? It was going to be on the house. With a little surprise. I wasn't going to just walk in like a guest. No. I had a better plan, one that would make every insult, every side eye, every dismissive word come back to haunt them in a way they'd never forget, and just when they raised their glasses to toast, something happened that stopped every smile on their face, because the general manager suddenly walked out, and looked straight at me. "Miss Sasha, your table is ready." Their jaws dropped, and I wasn't done yet. Their jaws dropped so hard you could hear the silence fall over the room. My mom's wine glass froze midair. My dad squinted like he'd seen a ghost. And Rachel? Her fake lashes nearly fell off when she choked on her overpriced risotto. I walked past the velvet rope slowly, heels tapping with confidence they'd never seen in me before. The same Sasha they once laughed at. The same girl who was too soft, too naive, too slow. Tonight, I wasn't that girl. Tonight, I was the woman they had to answer to. The manager didn't just escort me to a table, he led me to the VIP corner booth. White leather seats, candlelight, and a perfect view of the entire restaurant. Every eye turned. Every whisper hushed. Who is she? I could hear them wonder. I glanced at my family's table as I passed, and Mom whispered, "Is this a joke?" I smiled. No joke. Just dinner. Then the staff began moving, but not towards them. 3 waiters approached my table with a chilled bottle of Dom Perignon, handcrafted appetizers, and menus customized with my name printed in gold at the top. Rachel's mouth dropped. Why does her menu have her name? Dad leaned in, whispering to Mom, confused. Is she dating the owner? Mom snorted. Please. Sasha can barely afford gas. That's when the manager returned to their table, politely but firmly saying, "Excuse me, sir. There's been a change in plans. This table has been reserved by the owner for a private celebration." They looked around, stunned. What owner? Dad asked. The manager simply nodded toward me, her. Mom's face turned ice white. You're the owner? I leaned back in my seat, smiled gently, and said, "Since last year." And then I stood up, walked over to their table, and said what I'd rehearsed in my head for months. I bought this place after you all laughed at me for leaving my job. I rebuilt it. I worked late nights. I ate instant noodles for months. You told me I'd never amount to anything. You mocked my dreams. But today, you're eating in my restaurant. And then came the final twist. I handed them a check for the entire meal, paid in full. And under my signature, I wrote, "Next time, don't count people out just because you can't see their value." But that wasn't even the real surprise, because just as Mom reached out to grab her purse, someone unexpected walked in. And he changed everything. Absolutely. Here's the next long section, Section 3, with the same emotionally gripping style, fast-paced twists, and strong continuity. The door swung open, and in walked Mr. Bennett, the city's most powerful real estate tycoon and my silent business partner. He was dressed sharp as ever, with his signature gray suit, silver cufflinks, and the kind of walk that made everyone turn their heads. My mother gasped. My father stood up instantly. Even Rachel nearly knocked over her drink trying to look important. Is that him? Mom whispered. The billionaire from the Forbes article? I stood slowly from my table and greeted him with a hug. Right on time. He smiled and handed me a sealed envelope. Your quarterly profit check, Sasha. Congrats, you just crossed 7 figures. The restaurant went dead silent. Mom clutched her necklace like she was about to faint. Rachel's eyes widened like saucers. My dad didn't say a word, he just sat down slowly, like the world had tilted sideways. I turned back toward them, holding the envelope in one hand. You see, I said calmly, while you were all busy calling me a failure, I was busy building. I didn't tell you anything, not because I wanted revenge, but because I wanted peace. I didn't need your validation. I needed my freedom. And I got it. Mr. Bennett gave me a proud nod before walking over to their table. Your daughter is one of the smartest business minds I've ever partnered with, he said. Her marketing strategy tripled this restaurant's value. We're opening 2 more next year, she'll be running them all. Rachel tried to recover. Wow, Sasha, why didn't you ever tell us? I looked her dead in the eye because the last time I told you I had a dream, you laughed in my face and told me to get real. I did. Just not in the way you imagined. Mom suddenly found her voice. Sasha, sweetie, we were just worried about you. You were always different. That's your way of saying I didn't live up to your version of success, I replied. But I'm done shrinking myself to fit inside your narrow box. I handed her a fresh napkin. You'll need this. She blinked. For what? I nodded to the manager. The lights dimmed slightly. A custom video began playing on the restaurant's main screen. Footage of me, working late nights, flipping chairs, training staff, sitting at a desk with my laptop, played over gentle music. My story. My grind. The silent hustle they never saw. At the end of the video, bold white text faded onto the screen. To everyone who was told they'd never make it, keep going. You're not failing, you're planting. The screen faded to black. By now, the entire restaurant had gone still. No forks clinking. No voices murmuring. Just stunned silence, and the occasional sniffle. A couple from a nearby table clapped. Then more joined. And suddenly the whole room was applauding. For me. My mother looked shattered. My father couldn't meet my eyes. Rachel? She just sat frozen. I stepped forward, calm but firm. You always told me I'd never measure up. But tonight, you measured yourself against who I used to be, not who I've become. Then I turned to walk away, but stopped mid-step because just as I reached the door, someone from my past walked in, and they were holding a letter. One that could either destroy everything I'd built, or prove that my rise wasn't even close to over. A hush swept across the restaurant as the tall figure stepped through the glass doors. It was Mark, my ex-fiancé, the last person I ever expected to see tonight. He looked sharper than ever, dressed in a navy blue suit, holding a tan envelope in one hand, and guilt in his eyes. The same man who once told me, Sasha, you'll never be more than an assistant with dreams too big for your shoes. The man who left me when I needed him most, right before I bought the restaurant. I froze. Not because I still loved him, I didn't. But because his presence meant something. Mark didn't do random. He did strategy. He walked past the stunned guests, past my confused parents, and straight toward me. Everyone stared, waiting for a scene. Rachel looked ready to faint. My mother nearly dropped her water glass. Mark handed me the envelope. I know you have no reason to trust me, he said, his voice low. But read this. You need to see what's been happening behind your back. I narrowed my eyes. If this is another apology letter filled with excuses, it's not, he cut in. It's about your family. My breath caught. He nodded toward my parents. You think they just ignored you? Mocked you? No. Sasha, they tried to block your permits. Your mom called the zoning office last year pretending to be your business partner, tried to get the expansion denied. She used your maiden name so you wouldn't trace it. The words hit harder than I expected. I opened the envelope. Inside were official government emails and recorded call transcripts. All showing my mother's name. Her voice. Her schemes. My chest burned. I looked at my mom, whose face drained of all color. She stood up and stuttered, I was trying to protect you. The restaurant business is risky. You weren't protecting me, I snapped. You were sabotaging me. You didn't want me to outgrow you. Dad didn't defend her. He just looked down at his plate like it was a mirror he couldn't face. Mark took a step back. That's all I came to give you. I didn't do it for a second chance. I did it because I saw the video. You deserve to know who's been standing in your way. And with that, he left. I turned toward my mother slowly, voice shaking but strong. You knew how hard I fought for this. And you still tried to ruin it. Why? Tears welled up in her eyes, but I didn't move. I used to beg you to notice me, I said, but I won't beg to be respected. Then I faced the entire restaurant and raised my glass to silent battles and louder comebacks. The guests clapped again, louder than before, but as I took my seat to finally enjoy my dinner, my phone buzzed. One notification. A wire transfer just hit my account. $2.50 million from someone I didn't recognize, but the note attached said, "You helped me once when no one else would. Now it's my turn. Let's build something bigger." I stared at the name, and my heart stopped, because it was my biological brother. One I never knew existed. I read the name again just to be sure, Ethan Carter. I blinked hard, trying to place it. Then suddenly, it clicked. Years ago, when I was 13, I overheard a tense conversation between my parents. Something about a mistake from before marriage and keeping things quiet for the family's sake. Back then, I didn't understand it. But now, it wasn't just a rumor, it was real. My parents had a son before me. A half-brother they never mentioned. And now? He'd just wired me $2.50 million, with a promise to build something together. His email hit me hard. He knew everything. He'd watched from afar as they mocked me, and now he wanted to rise with me. I wasn't alone anymore. I looked at my father. Did you know about Ethan? His quiet yes said it all. Mom gasped. You lied to me? I lied to everyone. He admitted. I stepped back. You didn't just hide him, you buried both of us. Rachel tried to butt in. Sasha, don't make this dramatic. Rachel, I snapped, you've never supported anyone. You just ride their shine. She sank back in silence. And for once, so did everyone else. The whole room was watching. But I didn't care anymore. I turned to the crowd. My family always thought reputation was everything. That appearances mattered more than truth. But I've learned something else. Truth is power. And real family doesn't try to break you when you rise. I looked down at the email again. Then I smiled. I'm starting something new, with someone who understands struggle, silence, and strength. Just then, another alert popped up on my phone. It was a headline: Sasha Carter announces partnership with tech giant Ethan Carter. New chain of restaurants coming to 5 cities. I hadn't even posted it yet. He wasn't just sending money. He was already putting me on the map. I looked around the restaurant, the same one where they once said I wasn't good enough to eat, and now, I owned it. I ran it, and I was outgrowing it, but before I walked out, I did one last thing. I called the manager over and whispered a simple instruction. Seconds later, he walked over to my family's table and said, I'm sorry, but this table is now reserved for someone who actually belongs here. And just like that, they were asked to leave. They walked out in silence. No farewell. No apology. Just the weight of their own pride dragging behind them. As I stood near the door, head high, the staff lined up, every single one of them nodding in quiet respect. I'd earned my place, but this was just the beginning, because tomorrow, Ethan and I would be meeting for the first time, and what we were about to build was going to make everyone who doubted us wish they'd stayed silent.